Yeah, look, it was more a question, Gary. One of my friends, he's on the call tonight, and one of the questions that he asked was about the negative publicity that have been circulating, and I know that we've contended against that for many, many months, as this progress has gone through, and yet, with Jenny's testimony of meeting up with Andre himself, the international conferences, I believe on the quiet, I think the Brisbane office is about to open shortly. So there are just so many things that are positively pointing towards the validation of this particular company. And maybe, Chris, I know I'm going to be putting you on the spot like this, but you probably have the most experience within the company and the length of time you've been with us. What kind of objections have you heard in the past, and how have you handled it?
Most of the objections that I've heard have been people with non-facts. In other words, they've got their wires crossed, and a lot of there's internet criticisms of what we're doing which don't have any facts behind them. So usually, if it's somebody who's well versed in economic things, I generally pick out. They will present me with something they found on the internet, and I'll pick it apart line by line, and then expose it for being untrue. And really, that's all you can do. Rather, if you can pick it apart line by line and show why it's inaccurate, I found that to be quite effective. But some people, they don't even want to talk about that. They just say they've lost interest in it because of some things that they've heard. I generally just say to them, would you rather, do you think what would be worst of all would be the pain of regret that you've missed out on this, wouldn't it? Do you think there's a chance that it's going to be a very successful organisation? And if they say no, well, I say, well, it's obviously not for you, because it can't be for everybody. But I would recommend to you one of two things: that you do some more research, more than you've already done. And better than looking at this company through the eyes of somebody else who's doesn't even have the facts, why don't you take a free membership and study it from the inside? Form your own opinion by listening to some webinars by the owners of the company. Look around the back office, get information. It won't cost you anything to do that. And you've got so much to lose. If there is that much money involved here, it's too much to lose, I would think, for you just to walk away from it rather than continue to study it. Would you like to continue studying it? And generally I ask them that question. Would you like to continue the study of it from the inside? And if they say yes, I just say, well, let's give you a free membership, and I give them a membership. And then make sure that they understand what they're reading when the back office opens up to them. Show them the news section, show them all the various ways they can get on to the webinars to find out more. If they don't want to, and they were already too turned off to that, well, what can you do? There's very little that you can do. And you have to accept the fact that it doesn't matter what your proposition is, not 100% of the people who see it are going to pick it up. What we do know is that 100% of the people who see it will never be the same again, because they will either benefit from it or they'll suffer the pain of regret when they see how big it becomes. But there will be a moment, and I say to them, the ones that say no or the ones that say yes, when they're sitting on the line, I say to them, do you remember where you were when Princess Diana died? Do you remember, are you old enough to remember something like that? If they're younger, I say a significant date. Do you remember, in my age bracket, do you remember where you were when Neil Armstrong put his foot on the moon? And you say yes or no. And I say, well, you will remember this day for the rest of your life, because you will either going to profit from it or you're going to be regretful that you didn't profit from it. It's your decision. But either way, I guarantee you will never forget today. Then it encourages them then to take it a little more seriously.
Well, it's interesting to hear that, those commentaries, because I was in 16 months ago and didn't really take it to heart until Jenny continued to persuade me to do a bit more study and into the company. So it was only three months ago that I took her advice and what Chris was saying about researching into the company, seeing the videos for yourself, looking at Andre as the company owner and the other presidential candidates who were vouching for this particular cause and the company moving forward. You know, with so many validations and presentations that have come on board, it's very hard to deny it now. So I guess that's primarily the reason why I have, invited, some of my, good friends, close friends, onto this video call to get a glimpse of what a lot of us have already experienced so far.
I would just add in there with that, for a very small investment of $250, you look to reap an incredible reward, particularly if you're prepared just to put in $250 and sit on it and pretend it isn't even there, and then have a look in 3, 4 and 5 years' time.
Jenny, the interesting calculation there is that for the $250, even just for that small investment, with 1,389 crew shares.
Yes.
Well, if you compare this crypto unit to potentially, other Bitcoins and the fact that it's asset backed and so forth, the escalation of price is quite considerable. And if you start adding the multiples or zeros on the end of that share number of shares that you acquire, the sky's the limit, isn't it? It's just an incredible opportunity.
Your smile's getting broader and broader as you think about it, Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I can't hunt it anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, even just for a pittance, you watch that grow.